It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Lethbridge Polytechnic's head men's volleyball coach, Coach Greg Gibbs. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college men's volleyball?
Yeah, really, I'm one of those rare scenarios where kind of like a door opens and closes and an opportunity kind of presents itself. Originally for me, like I grew up in a small town, so I didn't really know much about elite sport. And I competed and I did that kind of stuff, but really I had no idea what post-secondary really looked like. And how I actually got into coaching was one of my university instructors that I was taking a volleyball course from. They said, "Hey, this school needs a coach. Do you want to go ahead and try it out?" So that's how I started actually in the high school system, was all by one of my university instructors who said, "Hey, we actually said you three idiots," and pointed to three of my friends and got us to go coach high school. And then from there, things kind of progressed. And, I'd be lying if I said to you that when I first started coaching that the goal was post-secondary or that I'd ever end up here. The more and more you do, the more and more you fall in love with it, the more and more you kind of build that passion and that fire. And the opportunity here, I was living in Lethbridge at the time, and both the men's and women's job was posted here at Lethbridge Polytechnic. So, fun fact is I actually applied to coach the women because I had been coaching on the women's side here in Lethbridge at the time, and the athletic director thought I'd be a really good fit for the men. So, really, it wasn't something that I would say that was like a dream and a passion. It was something that I worked really hard towards, and I was really excited about doing. And then when the opportunity presented itself, I applied and had an interview, and here we are now, 9 years later, still sitting in the same office. So it's been a really good ride, and I've had a lot of fun doing it.
What was that experience like going to college at Alberta?
Yeah. Alberta was awesome. So U of A, for people who, we're talking to someone in the United States, and so it's kind of fun that you guys are all going to get a good picture of what it looks like up here. The University of Alberta actually has probably one of the best youth sport men's volleyball teams in the country. I think they've won the most national championships in the last 20 years, and it's just a really good environment to learn from. The instructor at the time who was teaching us volleyball and like how to coach and how to do those things was the head coach of the men's team up there. His name was Terry Danilick at the time. So getting just to learn from him and see his passion and see the way those athletes interacted together, it really allowed me to see the sport in a different light. And I was 5 hours away from home, living in a bigger city for the first time ever. It was just great to have like a resource and someone to pull from. And so taking my education at the University of Alberta I always say it's the best thing I ever could have done. I'm closer to Lethbridge for my hometown than I am to Edmonton for Alberta, and I'm really happy that I made that choice just to meet new people, take on new opportunities. And so it was really I look back at it now, it's probably the best time of my life. And so it was such a transformational period in how to learn and how to really look at sport in a unique lens. So I'm very thankful for that time there.
What was that experience like getting to coach on the Team Alberta volleyball team?
Yeah, I don't know. I've got these big aspirations. I'm kind of a dreamer, and I kind of follow and look for a lot of joy in life and try to get those aspirations. And one of the first things when I made a list of I actually carry around a to-do list of things that I still want to experience and do, and one of them was to represent my province. I really wanted to be one of those people that got to wear an Alberta flag on my chest and show people what it meant to be Albertan and all those kind of things. I know it's very similar, in the United States where people are very proud of where they're from, and I'd gotten to represent the southern half of my province, working through volleyball over time, representing southern Alberta. There's definitely something different about a big event with everyone from Canada, all eyes on you, and you get to walk out wearing your state or your provincial flag. And for me, it was such a great experience just to, full circle moment, right? To kind of be there with that group of people. I'd played provincial team baseball actually growing up, was a sport that I was there with. But to get to work with some of those elite level athletes and just see the care and the passion that the province puts into our sport and the quality of coaching. I mean, half of that is you get to watch other elite coaches and learn from them and pick their brain and, have a late night beer and talk about the sport. And I think that's that knowledge that I picked up from a lot of those mentors at that point in time was something that really shaped who I am as a coach today. So one, checking off a bucket list item for myself personally, but the other side of it is just got to become a much better coach, learning from all these other people when we concentrate, all these coaches together.
Coming to Lethbridge, what was that experience like becoming the next head volleyball coach for men?
Shock, number one. No, but seriously, like it was a big change, right? I mean, I coached U13 and U14 men, like when I was in Edmonton, and I ran a high school men's volleyball team up there at a school called WP Wagner. And so I've been coaching men for, 6 of my first 10 years, I think, coaching were with men. And then I'd switched over to the women's side because at the time, like my wife was more comfortable coaching women and we didn't want to spend a ton of time apart. So we were coaching teams together and it tended to be female. And like I said, I hadn't played post-secondary sport. I hadn't, experienced anything on that side of things or like elite performance other than working with the provincial team. And so I came in like terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, like what are these guys going to think? Like, how am I going to get them to buy into what I want to do? How are we going to get all these kind of things? And so one of the things I kind of wanted to do to start was just work hard. I wanted to show them that like I was here for them. I tried to build relationships with all of them. That was kind of like a couple of those big pillars right off the bat was like, hey, they may not respect the volleyball knowledge I have, or they may not know, who I am as a person, but if I can, pour my heart and soul into them, work really hard both off the court and on the court for them, and like, have really detailed film sessions and all that work that goes into like running an elite level program. Hopefully they can see that I'm in it for them. And so that's kind of what we built that first year or two around was just like, listen, maybe I don't know everything technically that you need right now, but I'm really trying to pour myself into you as a person. And it's really become one of the foundations here that we have at Lethbridge Polytechnic is just that level of care for each athlete that comes through our doors.
For you, what was that feeling like stepping onto that volleyball court for the first time as a head coach?
Goosebumps, right? Like, definitely, our gym is beautiful. Our community down here in Lethbridge is awesome. Nervous, obviously, number one, right? But just like that sense of accomplishment or that sense of like really trying to drive part of that community together. That was one of the most rewarding moments for me was like, you look across and you can see, we've got about a 2,200 seat gym and to see a lot of people coming in there to watch your passion and watch your work and watch what you love doing, man, that gives you goosebumps. And I know that's why like a lot of our athletes chase that feeling. And it's been easily the most like rewarding aspect of my professional career. Obviously I've got a wife and kids and that's, the priority one in my life. But from a professional standpoint, that is, by far, just getting to play in front of the Val, getting to play in front of our community. Sorry, our gym's called the Val. Getting to play in front of that community it's something that always takes your breath away when you realize that like people value what work you're putting in, and essentially it's my heart on a plate every time we're out there. Right, we're trying to put together such a great program for these people and something that the community wants to cheer on, right? So that's a big part of trying to grow our sport in our region is sharing ourselves with each other, right? So yeah, hopefully we can keep on doing that as the future's bright down here.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you started to build for the men's volleyball program?
Yeah, culture. Whew, the big word, right? It's such a hot button topic and it's such a word that like people throw around, I think, without understanding what it is, right? And like, oh, good culture, good culture, good culture. And it's like, well, no, like what is good culture, right? And what does it actually mean? And I think, we live on a couple pretty big pillars and a couple of things that are like one part of our athletics program. So our athletic director has to be someone that like, sets that tone too. And he's got his pillars. And then we kind of have our own individual pillars as well. But for us, like I kind of mentioned it earlier, it's that quality of care. And I think what we want each one of our athletes to do is, we of course, like most programs, we live by some quotes. And one of our quotes is like, leave the jersey in a better place. Classic New Zealand All Blacks, right? From, a lot of different places. But like have some passion and have some pride in what it means to be a Kodiak. And I think that's such a good challenge, right? Like leave it in a better place than when you got it. It allows those athletes to be a little bit more reflective of their time here. And the second part of that, and again, we're stealing this from New Zealand, is a lot around the lines of like, plant seeds you'll never see the trees of, which essentially means like you should pour your heart and soul into your community and into the people around you. And again, it may not result in you winning a national banner or even an ACAC championship, the conference that we compete in, but like you're laying the foundation for so many people to come after you. And that's really what we're trying to build is, I think we had a lot of work to do in our community to like get volleyball to be a sport that people want. I mean, we talked earlier before we clicked record on how sometimes men's volleyball can be niche, right? And We didn't want that in our community. We wanted to be the leaders. We wanted to like excite people to do that. And that's kind of what we did. We wanted our athletes to be excited to be working in the community, wanted our athletes to like push into each other so people can see the love on the court. And really like it's so much bigger than just us. And like I know there's a day where I'll walk away and the program will continue to operate in the way it needs to. Because it is like the being a Kodiak means so much more than just 1 year, 1 season, one stat, one person. Hopefully we have those metrics now that kind of like allow people to feel as though they're a part of something truly special. And that's the culture we create, is that, we care about you, we care about you as a person, and we really want you to like lead into others in our community. And so that's the growth we're looking for, and that's the type of people we want to be Kodiaks.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
Yeah, so we compete in what's called the CCAA, so the Canadian College Athletic Association. Within the CCAA, there are 6 divisions. And part of those 6 divisions, we represent the province of Alberta, and we compete in what's called the ACAC. And we're split into two separate divisions, so one being a North Division, one being a South Division. Big travel, considering, like, again, Canada's a big country, Alberta's a big province, so we've got road trips, up to places such as Keano and Grand Prairie, which are schools in the northern half of our conference that are about, 12-hour bus ride-ish, right? Because we're located in the far south side of our province. We're only about 45 minutes from the Montana border, so we're really close to kind of even being in the United States, just as like a frame of reference. But teams that we, classically have rivals with, Medicine Hat College is about an hour and a half drive from us. They would be considered the Highway 3 rivals. We share a highway together and obviously compete in the same area quite a bit. And then kind of the gold standard in CCAA men's volleyball has been Red Deer Polytechnic. I think they've won something like 20 of the last 40 national championships, and by far the strongest team here in Alberta. And, that's a team that we typically measure ourselves with. Unfortunately, this year we split with them in the regular season, but they clipped us in the conference championships this year. But just like a very good gold standard program, they kind of bring in a lot of the great athletes. They do a really good job of running their program effectively, and it's a group that we're always trying to chase. So I would say that maybe that's our second biggest rival right now, is trying to compete with a team that is perennially winning national championships. So.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams come to your home facility versus going away?
Well, it's interesting. We've got a really big facility. So comparative to like some of our counterparts, they're really small, tight gyms. And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced those at some point, right? Where it's 300 people, but the walls are pure concrete and the noise is bouncing off of there and they're 2 feet away from the court, right? So it feels like there's 1,500 people in there screaming and yelling at you, right? So some of the gyms are like very tight and very loud, right? And it feels like the fans are right on you. But playing at home, man, like we average around like 1,100 people out there, which like for Canadian college sport is like unheard of. We get to play in front of like a really full house all the time. The crowd's engaged. And really what it is for us is it's our youth community that comes out and supports us. We've had and we've worked really hard to build connections within our community to really inspire those youth to come out. And so I don't know if you've ever been in a gym full of junior high and high school kids, but they're loud, they're excited, they're banging the thunder sticks, they're waving the towels, like they're just so happy to be watching elite level volleyball. We are the top end in our city. There is what's called the University of Lethbridge in town too, but they don't operate a men's volleyball team. So we are kind of like the gold standard when it comes to watching elite sport within our community. And as we've seen volleyball grow, of course, we've seen our fandom grow, right? And so that was part of the process when I first got hired, was how do we get more people in here? We got a beautiful facility, but we want it full of people who want to yell and scream, right? So we've done some really targeted things, like we offer a junior high, senior high night close to the end of their season so that they can come and do, a team bonding night. So it's free for them to come. They get some pulled pork or barbecue beef on a bun, a bag of chips and a pop, and can make signs in one of our classrooms. And like we really try to engage the community in those types of things. Other things we've worked through is like a club night, so inviting all of our club athletes come January to come out to a game, again free of charge, and try to fill the place. So Lethbridge it's a really fun place to play right now because the crowd is so engaged and so into it. And we would say it for everybody, but of course the better you do, the more the crowd's always involved in it too. So since we've been a perennial contender, we do have lots of people who've been coming out to support the program for a long time, and it's been great to be embedded in our community as well as we have been.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective men volleyball players out there?
It's hard right now. I'm not trying to tote or talk anything about that, but I would say this year alone, we've probably had 500 plus emails. So I've probably had about 500, prospective athletes reach out, and that doesn't include, the 10 to 15 people that I've probably identified to bring in. Obviously, like we see our local athletes a lot more than we see some out of town athletes. Again, Canada, we're pretty spread out when it comes to competition. We've only got 4 or 5 high schools in town here, so that is a really good base for us. And really, like the athletes from Southern Alberta have built such a strong core for this organization for so long that it's been really positive that way. But I do attend again in our province. We host what are called Alberta Premier events, and what an Alberta Premier event is, all the club athletes who are U17, U18 all play in the same city at the same time. So often that's between 70 and 80 teams, right? And we try to attend those events and watch athletes that A, have reached out, and B, were interested in recruiting. And obviously working with the provincial team is always a good benefit to a lot of athletes too. If you're one of the top 14 athletes in the province, obviously that allows you to get a little bit more exposure, because there's events called Canada Cup where a lot of these people who make you 18 Team Alberta will be present, right? So again, another concentration of the talent. So for us, like what I always tell people is never miss an opportunity. It's only an email, right? So if you want to if you're interested in becoming a Kodiak, send an email. We're happy to always answer that. I do try to answer every single email that comes across my desk, doing that. And then, for the rest of it is like, we're always watching. Now that we've got like a pretty good alumni base, we've got a lot of people coaching in the community, for a lot of people coaching in other communities if they've returned back to their hometowns or wherever they might be. So there's lots of Kodiak guys on people all the time, and like we're just watching for body language. We're watching for how you interact with teammates. I really like watching people when they're winning by a lot, because how are you respecting your opponents? How are you treating your athletes? What are you hoping to do? Then I also look at people when they're losing. How do you again respond to your coach's feedback? How do you respond to your teammates' feedback? What are you doing as an athlete? Because again, like we know that good people make good Kodiaks, and those are things that we're really interested in. There's a lot of really good volleyball players, but there's not a lot of really good Kodiaks out there. So we're pretty selective in that process of who we want to bring in. But Alberta, specifically, and the province next to us is called Saskatchewan, really booming with volleyball right now. So there's been a lot of really good things that have been happening between the two provinces, and that's the primary base of like where we take our athletes from.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen putting on that jersey for the first time versus your seniors putting it on for the last time?
Yeah, it's just exciting. I think like getting to touch the floor at the Val the first time is so exciting for a lot of these athletes, right? Like just the recognition of that goal, right? A lot of athletes are very goal minded, right? And getting to play post-secondary sports. So just to see the joy in their eyes, right, as they look out in the crowd, and now it's not just 50 people in your high school watching you, but 2,300 people at a college or university, I think is so exciting for them. And just like to know that all the work you put in during your high school or your junior high, whatever career, has meant something for you, right, to get to that point and be present in that moment. And so there's a lot of positive emotions that come from that. And then the seniors, man, it gets anyone who's ever seen me do a senior night, I'm a blubbering mess, right? But it's like, it's so hard, right? It's you love them and you're going to miss them, but it's time for them to kind of move on to that next exciting part of their lives. This year alone, we're hoping that we graduated 3 fifth-year athletes, and we're hoping that all 3 are going to play professionally overseas next year, and I think it's going to happen for them. And so the goal for me when they're a senior is don't let this be the last jersey you ever put on. Right? Because whether it's even co-ed or playing, with your friends recreationally, we hope we've harbored a love of the sport enough for you to keep playing volleyball. And whether that means even you're coaching and throwing on a polo, whatever it might be, we just want you to like have that passion and that energy turn into the next thing. And so for the seniors, it's a chance for us to reflect on everything that you've been, everything that you've represented as a Kodiak, and then kind of exciting parts for that next chapter of what it means for you.
What is that like getting to see those seniors putting on their first professional volleyball uniform?
Yeah, it's been cool. We've never had it before, right? So again, like a lot of our athletes are goal oriented, right? So that is on their list. And so again, it's like the work you put in and the energy you put in, like people recognize that, right? And it's that sense of accomplishment, and accomplishment's so powerful for us, right? Like when it comes to building positive emotions and creating the people that we are, I think they're all so important for us. And so for me, it's so great for them to see that everything we try to tell them and everything we try to pour into them is getting them to that next level, right? And getting them to do that. Like coaching is hard. Sometimes we're hard on athletes. Sometimes we're pulling as much as we can from them, and we really just want them to see like who they are as people matters more. But man, getting to do that professional thing is a lot of fun. We've had athletes now play in the United States. We've had people play in Australia, and now hopefully in the next little cycle we'll have some people over in some of the European countries as we continue to build our representation as a program.
What are some of the things you've been able to accomplish so far as a head coach, and what are some of your future plans and goals?
Yeah, what a good question. I was like spending here, like obviously you pre-sent the questions to help me out a little bit. And looking at this, it was a really fun one to kind of examine. And I think for me, the biggest thing I've been able to accomplish here is just one, like the sense of community that we've been able to build around Lethbridge Polytechnic and men's volleyball here. When I first took over the program, we only had about 9 to 12 athletes playing U18 club volleyball. And some of those were even from Medicine Hat, like an hour and a half away or making the trip in. And it's a byproduct not only of me, our local club system, people like Ardby Chevelle, Ian Bennett, Rob Wood, they've really just been pouring themselves into the community to build what we've got here on the men's side. We're hoping to be the inspiration. We're hoping to like be the point that you want to get there, and like you can see yourself as a volleyball player here playing at Lethbridge Polytechnic, or if it's not here, we've had athletes now go to the University of Alberta from Lethbridge, right? Like that's so cool. So we used to have 9 to 12 athletes for our U18 programs, and this year we had 63 try out. Right. So when I talk about like the impact that people can have in their program, whatever that might be, 700% increase of boys playing volleyball in our community, like that's the stuff that like, makes me feel a lot of pride in what we're doing. Obviously people, it sounds silly, but people coming to watch the games means a lot because it means the community appreciates like what we're trying to do, and they value, who we are as people and what we're trying to do as a group. The one that gets me, and like I still talk about it, was we had never hosted conference championships before. We got to host conference championships in 2020, and I was really worried. I was like, okay, like this is right around zone basketball, like people are going to be playing all this kind of stuff. Hockey playoffs are getting around the corner for a lot of youth. I'm like, I don't know if anyone's going to come, right? Like I'm really worried about it. And the first game we played on a Thursday night, there was about 2,200 people there, almost filled the whole place up. We won that day, so we got to play in the conference semifinal the next day against another rival school, which is called the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, SAIT. They had just won, championships not that long ago. And so the semifinal, like there was people sitting on the floor. I'm sure we violated some sort of fire code that day, whatever it might be, right? Like that just to like having our athletes walk out and then get to see all the support from this community. It meant like everything we're doing is meaningful to them. And that's like for them, they got that sense of pride. So just to change what it means to play post-secondary volleyball here in Lethbridge. And then lucky us, we won the semifinal and we got to go to the final. And I usually have like a little bit of a pregame ritual, and I walk down the gym, and there was about 250 people lined up still outside the gym, and our athletic director had to come put like a sold out sign on the doors. And I don't know if this gym has ever been sold out before. And for it to be sold out for men's volleyball was like one of the top moments of my life, like just to have that recognition that what we're doing is like everyone wanted to be here. Everybody wanted to be a part of it. There's some cool photos from it, like all that kind of stuff that went through from everybody down from the top. Like for those athletes to say like, hey, I've done this and what I've done has been important, not just to myself, but to others. Man, that was worth it all, right? And I know we lost that ACAC final that night. But again, like that group had accomplished so much. From like a statistical thing, we've been at around an 800 winning percentage for the last 7-8 years. So we've been very good on court. We've got now 4 conference medals over the last 6 years. Not a lot of programs can say that. And again, like to put into perspective, our program had never won a playoff game, right? So we had actually never won an ACAC conference quarterfinal game before, right? And so for us to go from a program like that, and again, like there was lots of great teams. They got their hearts broken in the quarterfinal. There was always a monkey on the back of Lethbridge not being able to get over the hump, and we were able to take that off, right? And now like it's not just a quarter, but like you got to win the semi, right? Like we've been in 3 of the last 5 finals, right? Like that's where the program's at from a sense of like accomplishment. We've been in nationals, we've been in national medal games, flown across the country, right? 3,000 kilometers to New Brunswick, right? During a pandemic at No Beans, right? So like all those kind of things have been so so cool. But the biggest part for me, and this is like, I'm very honest about this kind of stuff, is last season, I don't know how many alumni I have, but we had over 27 of them coaching. So what they've decided is that, like, I love volleyball so much and I had such a great experience that I now want to give back to my community, right? And I can walk into a high school tournament and I can walk into a club tournament and I'll see 5 or 6 Kodiaks. And I think like that was the impact that I wanted to leave people with, was have such a positive experience that you want to pass your passion on to other people. And that's like when I leave and it's all said and done, I'm hoping that someone will look at a coaching tree, right, as we all do with coaches, and they'll say like, oh, that guy played there. That makes a lot of sense, right? And that, we gave them that inspiration and that excitement to continue along the sport and like give back what they got, right? And so, the medals, the wins, the crowds, the recognition of that, the growth of volleyball, but like just to see how much our guys still love the sport and still want to give back, that's been like the coolest part, and the part that'll leave me here as coach at Lethbridge.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of men's volleyball?
Soak it all in, right? Like it's such a steep learning curve for when you go in to, like, as a new athlete. I know we all think we've got the world figured out, and we don't. I'm learning daily. That's why I want to like talk to people like you and have these experiences and learn from other great coaches. Is soak it all in. Like, again, it's so hard to get to the level that you're at. Like I said, I had 500 emails this year and we took 4 people, right? Like that's a huge accomplishment in of itself, right? So like appreciate getting there and that value, and then be the hungriest person on the court. Like it's one thing to play post-secondary volleyball. It's another thing to start, and it's another thing to be like a league all-star, right? Like we just continue to concentrate that talent down and down the road, and just never be satisfied with yourself, right? Always try to like push yourself to the next level, and like do those types of things, but like soak in those moments. Like so much of what we have in sport we don't remember from like training or from our coaches. It's the bus rides, it's the overnights, it's the dumb things someone did at a party, right? It's like all that kind of stuff is the important stuff, right? Is to make connections with your teammates. Don't just come here to like play volleyball, go to school. Like there's so much more to life outside of these out of these walls, and like soak all that stuff in, because I'll tell you, like it feels like just 2 days ago I was, at the U of A taking a volleyball course, and here we are now, whatever that would be. My gosh, it's 2025. So that's what, almost 20 years ago now, 17 years ago, right? Where that I was in post-secondary, just being that person in that same shoes, right? So it's a fun ride, and just appreciate it, live in the moment, and care for each other, right? So pour into each other.
What advice would you give those seniors that have aspirations of playing professional volleyball?
Take nothing for granted, right? I think like that's the biggest part is continue to perfect your craft. Like again, we're talking about concentrating the talent one more time, right? So like when you look at those types of things, like keep working your butt off, and have big dreams, right? Like I don't know, like I said, my master's degree is in positive psychology, so my whole thing is all about optimism, joy, and hope, right? So have those aspirations, right? Shoot for it. Don't just settle on like, hey, I was a pretty good college player and that's all I want to do, right? Like make those dreams and have that dream goal of whatever it is, and like who cares if you fall short of it, right? Like it's that journey along the way that makes it so memorable. And so like keep having that big vision of what you want to do, and don't let anyone say like you can't do it, and take every experience that you can. Like again, I'm a 37-year-old guy hanging out here, and like I wish I would have taken some of the opportunities that presented themselves to me earlier in life, and like I did the thing because I wanted to have a family and all that kind of stuff, but like go experience whatever you can, right? And like chase dreams, and chase those positive emotions as much as you can, and you have your whole life to work. I don't know, I've never met anyone who really cared about working 39 years versus 38 years when they're 65 years old, to get that experience to play post-secondary or professional volleyball. That's when they get a chance to really experience life. So take any opportunity you can.
What advice would you give those head coaches looking to get started in coaching in men's volleyball?
One, find out like who you are, right? I think like that's the biggest advice I give coaches. So again, to give you a little background into Canada, we really don't have a lot of full-time coaches, right? So for me, I get paid pretty much next to nothing. And if you put it in American dollars, it's even less than that. But my full-time role is I'm an instructor here at Lethbridge Polytechnic, and I teach in the psychology department. And one of the courses I get to teach is the coaching courses. So to be certified as a coach in Canada, you have to have certain courses and modules and things that you have to do. And so I get to instruct that here on campus, and students get to walk away with their credentials. And I always tell them, like, the first thing you need to do is know you. So again, like I don't know if anyone, you guys know you're in North Carolina, but Jim Valvano, God, he did such a good job of like talking about this. He always tried to like model himself after other coaches and all that kind of stuff. He's like, it just doesn't work. Like you got to be you. And I've never once, like when I've been stressed or when I've been in like a hard time, I never go like, okay, I should do this thing I'm not really good at, right? I always lean on my strengths and like the things that I am that make me me. And so I would encourage you to like look at your self-concept, look at your self-esteem, look at your self-efficacy. Like what kind of conversation are you having about you? And like that conversation having about you should be where you lead from. And like know what your pillars are, know who you are as a coach, know what you value. If you value a growth mindset, act like you value a growth mindset. If you value winning, talk about that, right? Like, but you have to be the person that knows, do you have to know more about you than anybody else, right? And you have to be consistent in the message that you're giving. And I think like that's step one. And if you want, like, there's a ton of free, strength inventories or things like that you can kind of look into to see who you are. But like, I think we all know who we are at one point, right? And your values may change. So that's like step one for me. Step two is like no team is the same, right? It's like you can't, I don't know. Lethbridge Polytech, I don't coach every year the same. The first year, or the first 3 years that I was here, we really had a bunch of walk-ons, guys who weren't recruited, weren't expected much out of them, but they had a strong passion for volleyball, wanting to get better and wanting to care about each other. So we stole the old Boston Red Sox moniker, and we were the band of idiots. A bunch of people that nobody thought could do anything or make any part of that, and like we did it that way. We had fun. We actually had a slam dunk contest before an ACAC semifinal. Like we just wanted to be there and have fun, and that was like the main thing that drove us. And then now I'm at a point where a lot of our athletes are provincial team members or ex-university players or whatever it might be. Like there's a different level of professionalism and like drive and push and demand, right? And like every team is different, especially if you're a high school coach and like you don't really have a lot of control over who comes into your gym. Like you're not recruiting, you're not doing any of those types of things. Like know your team, spend some time getting to know them, and like maybe have your first week or two of practices planned and what you're going to do. But like, yeah, every team is different, and you got to know what each team clicks and what they need and what they need for like mental skills, and what they need is like a level of arousal when it comes to like practices. And are you going to be the mean spitfire coach that you have to be, or do you want to be the nice and friendly? And every athlete's different, and so just to kind of coach the same way over and over again, I think of like the best coaches I know, and they don't do that at all, right? Every team is a little bit different, and I think like knowing that side of it is really important. My third bit of advice would be like find a mentor, find someone that you can like talk with coaching about, find someone that like you can learn from, find someone that like pushes your boundaries too. Like I always bring in assistant coaches that I know won't just be like yes men, right? I won't just say, oh yeah, Greg, that looks like the best thing in the world, right? Like find people that will challenge your ideologies and maybe think differently than you do. It's not a sign of weakness, right? And it's not a sign of like they're challenging you, right? It's just a way for you to like see something maybe from a different perspective that you might not have. A lot of us want to surround ourselves with comfort, and I actually encourage you to do the opposite and try to surround yourself with someone who's really going to push your boundaries, because guess what? That's where you grow, right? And so those are the elements that I think are really important for us, is to, be mindful of the people around us, and like really, like if you need a mentor, reach out to someone, right, that you respect. Or it could be a coach in your conference, could be a coach from another conference. Heck, maybe you're watching this podcast this week and you say, oh, that guy sounds really cool, and you want to reach out to me, right? I'm happy to help out any way we can. And I think it's just finding people that you want to be around and that you think you can benefit. And I think like you should never be alone. Coaching is one of the loneliest things that you can do. There's lots of intrusive thoughts I'm sure we all have as we go through it, and like just find those people that you can have those thoughts with and feel safe and supported.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the program?
Yeah, so mine's just first name and last name, so just Greg Gibbs, so Greg, Gibos, and just on Instagram there. So easiest way to kind of get a hold of me there is that way. Obviously, my website my email is on the website, and it's just the same thing, first name dot last name at Leth Leth Poly Poly .ca. Right? Oh, or we left Polytech. No, left Polytech. Look at that. I gave the wrong email. That could have been bad. So lethpolytech.ca is the email address. So, but yeah, I'm happy to help out with anyone there. And then our school has a website. It's just gokodiaks.ca. So if you want to check in on how we're doing, any of those types of things, that's on there. And then we do have social media as well. We're LP Kodiaks on Instagram. And then we are, I think it's at LP Kodiaks MVB is our team account, and the team account is kind of run by some of the athletes. Occasionally, I have to make a post on there, and I'm not real great at that. But our SID also puts some posts on there. You can tell the difference from when she posts something versus when I post something. So that's always a good entertainment value if you're ever curious to see what that looks like. But yeah, we're on social. We try to promote the program as best we can. So love any support that people want to give us.
Thank you again, Coach Greg, for your interview, and best luck in your future at Lethbridge Poly as the head men's volleyball coach.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Really appreciate your time.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you, sir.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.